Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Tamara McCants, and this is Pharmacy for the People. Pharmacy for the People is your weekly health information source in everyday terms so that I can help my community take care of themselves. This is my third episode, and I truly appreciate you tuning in. Whenever you get a chance, check out the YouTube page, Pharmacy for the People, for previous episodes and to add your thoughts or questions. Empowerment in healthcare is about a conversation. So I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your question. And these little short segments is just general information. So it's just for you to help start the conversation, but to help you to start the conversation when you talk to your doctor or local pharmacist about your specific situation. Okay, so in the word of Uncle Luke, let's do it. Let's get to it. Nowadays, you get a scratchy throat, you start sneezing, you feel a little under the weather, and you start panicking. Oh my goodness, I have COVID. We have all experienced it. And actually, January 20th, 2020 is the day that the public was notified that COVID was in the United States. And so 2 years later to the exact date, we still need to have more conversation about it. So you have those symptoms and you're panicking thinking you have COVID, and you just might. But it's a chance that you don't either. So I want everybody to remember that we are in the dead of winter, and there are all types of germs floating around: bacteria causing pneumonia and sinus infections, influenza virus to cause the flu, and also, of course, yes, the SARS coronavirus that was identified in 2019. Remember that coronavirus isn't anything new. It's been around for hundreds of years. But the virus that we're talking about right now is the one that was identified in 2019. So the main difference between the flu and COVID is really the onset of symptoms. So for the flu, you may start to feel symptoms 1 to 4 days from exposure. But for COVID, it can take between 2 and 14 days. And the symptoms are pretty much all the same: a cough, sore throat, diarrhea, headache, stuffy nose, and fatigue, feeling really tired, and also difficulty breathing. But one of the symptoms that used to differentiate COVID between the flu is the loss of taste and smell. But that symptom doesn't seem to be as prevalent now with the Omicron variant. So, anything you feel, you should take a test. And so that's why there are so many initiatives to get an at-home test, because one, the lines are too long now. The system is overwhelmed with people trying to test to see if they have COVID or not. And so I want to make sure that you know that a home test can be very reliable, at least for nothing else, to help with your anxiety. But the home test is not the most accurate test, or what the rapid test is not the most accurate test, but it's what we have available. And so if you test and you test negative, I want to encourage you to take it again up to 5 days after you feel like you might have been exposed. But really, if you're vaccinated and you didn't have any symptoms, if you were exposed, you would have been done with if you were exposed and positive or got COVID, you would have been done with your quarantine anyway. That's for the people that have no symptoms and that are vaccinated. However, if after 5 days you test negative, then you still have symptoms, then you need to go to the doctor, because we tend to forget about all the other bugs that are out there, like pneumonia, like the flu, like a sinus infection. So you shouldn't be experiencing symptoms for days and days and weeks on end without going to the doctor and getting checked out. COVID is not the only thing that's out there. Now, for those of you that take a test, you feel a scratchy throat, you start panicking, and you take a test, and what you thought was true is affirmed with a positive test. So I have instructions for whether you live with others or if you live by yourself. If you live with others, the first thing that you want to do is test everybody in the house. Everybody need to get a test because you want to see where everybody stands. Isolate yourself until you don't have symptoms, because your main goal is to try to protect others from getting COVID from you. And if you can't isolate, like if you have young kids, then wear a mask. And you should wear a mask, and everybody in your house should wear a mask until you are no longer symptomatic or until 10 days after you have tested positive. But you should be wearing a mask anyway. But we're not to the point where we need to be wearing a mask in the house every day. Now, if you live by yourself, and these instructions are also after for those that have protected everyone in your family and you've seen the status of everyone in your family, you test positive for COVID, the right thing to do is pretty much to tell everybody you've been around that you got it. So if you've been in close contact with someone within the last 2 to 5 days, up to 5 days before, you should let them know that you tested positive for COVID. That's actually the worst part. But now, so many people have been positive and have gotten COVID that it's not as bad as it was in 2 years ago when you were telling people that you were positive. But it's the right thing to do to help them to protect themselves and to protect vulnerable people that they may be around. Let them know. Send them a text message, send an email, call them. Let them know that you are positive. The second thing that you need to do is to rest and take care of your symptoms. We are not going around like business as usual. When you know that you tested positive for COVID, and the reason why you tested is because you had symptoms. So you want to give your body the best chance to recover. So clear the meetings off of your calendar. Don't even think about going to work or taking your kids to school or doing anything. You really shouldn't even be going outside, especially if you have symptoms. Give your body the best chance and rest. Straight up in the bed, under the covers, watching TV or reading your favorite book. And while you are resting, that is the best restoration for your body to help you to fight the virus and to be able to recover as quickly as possible. And manage your symptoms with your favorite remedies. Any over-the-counter medications that usually work for you when you have certain symptoms like a cough or a headache or stuffy nose, get what usually works for you, or again, talk to your local pharmacist for a recommendation. And also, don't neglect your home remedies or your herbal teas or simply steaming to try to clear out your passageways. All of those things, whatever gives you comfort, that's what you need to be doing until your body recovers. One thing that you do want to do is monitor yourself for an extremely high fever that's over 101 degrees, or if you're having any difficulty breathing. At that point, you should be calling your healthcare provider immediately. And don't forget to eat, because eating helps to give your body strength. And lastly, count down the days until your isolation or your quarantine is over. Move around if you can, because laying in the bed sometimes helps you to feel more sick. So, try to walk around for like 10 or 15 minutes, get out the bed, move your limbs, and then it will help you to feel better. One thing I did want to touch on is if you are taking a home test, then I want to encourage you to self-report to the health department so that they can do their job with contact tracing. That's going to happen normally if you have a PCR test or if you take the test anywhere else other than at home. If you don't have any symptoms, the CDC guidance states that you are considered contagious at least 2 days before a positive test. So We need to be walking around as if everybody is positive. Because again, you're most positive 2 days, you're most contagious 2 days before you see a positive test. So that's why, again, the emphasis on wearing a mask is most important. Now, after you have done with your quarantine and after you have done with the symptoms, please know that your test can come up positive up to 90 days after your initial infection with COVID. But you are, according to data, no longer contagious after 5 days after exposure to COVID or 5 days after infection. But you quarantine, wear a mask, isolate yourself for 10 days, and that will help everyone to stay safe. I hope that this information was helpful to you, and I will see you next week.